Let's start with our drawing template. So we've done this previous, but I want to revisit it. So in our standard templates, you have the part assembly and the drawing. So when we pick a standard drawing, the A size landscape, this is going directly into the sheet format. And we can add this to our list. So the sheet format tab, if I edit the sheet format, that's going to let me go into the background. We'll save that for another time. So there's not really anything here that we need, but if we go into the properties and set to the third angle and apply the changes, then the first thing we want to do is save the sheet format. All right, so this is just a very simple. We make the change. It defaults to the SolidWorks language English sheet format and a landscape. So if I was going to call this my landscape, I can save it directly into this folder. And again, the cloud drives, the removable drives, any place else you want to store this is because you might not have write access to this. So if it says you need permissions, need to be an admin, then that's kind of the issue that comes up. So one I'd like to check real quick then is under the document properties and the drawing sheets. The sheet format for new sheets is use a different sheet format, and kind of gone back and forth on this one. There was some previous, and if I open that one, all right, so that just ensures that any sheet that I add is going to be pointed to that one. All right, and what that's going to do then is when I save this and goes to the save as and go to drawing templates, and if I call this my A landscape, okay, how about my A land? This goes to program data SolidWorks into the templates and templates again. So there's the drawing DRW DOT. We save that. We make sure to close it, and then the double check is to do new. And now when I open, I can do a quick check. We'll hold off on that just real quick and go into the properties. And there I'm set to the third angle, which is what I'm used to. All right, so my preference, well, the reason that we close the document template is anything we insert and save into the document template, every time we open it, is going to come in with that geometry. The other test is to make sure that when I add another sheet and go into its properties, that we're still pointed to my landscape. All right, so we did a exploded view for the single. I don't remember if I did that for the configure. So I want to kind of take the drawing package multi-sheet strategy and the configuration strategy in this one video. So if I go to my drive, go to the assignments, look at assignment 2. If there's not, we can create an exploded view pretty quick. So if I don't have an exploded view, also notice this is a little different than the view palette. So if this is launching with this template, then we'd have to consider, it's in the other section. So if I use the model view, create multiple views, I can pick the front, top, right side, isometric. What I was looking for here is start command when creating new drawings. So it's starting with that geometry, and we can place the isometric. And because there's no new exploded view here, then there just isn't one available. We haven't created it yet. So I want to open that assembly, and I'm just clicking on the view, and it's warning me. So let's see what I have All right, so for the configurations, I would like to stay with the crank on the default kind of setting here. And if I go to isometric, that's what I'll be looking at. Again, a lot of these are set because of the dynamic, so just kind of going back through and looking at what I did previously. If I look for the mates, there's an angle that will cause everything to go defined except for the pins, which are able to spin and not really that big of a deal. All right, so the quick is to go into the exploded view, and if I grab all of these items, and I'm still going to try to pick these in an order that they will participate in the spacing reasonably well. That we have the auto space components. I want to move in Z. If I were to grab Y or grab X, then I'm moving it in a different direction. So the direction that I want it to go. And that went 70 millimeters, so 70 should be fine. And if I run the spacing in and out a little bit, make it look good, go ahead and hit OK. Go ahead and hit save. That's pretty much our fastest exploded view. If I want to edit that, maybe I look at that, 70 is a little bit too much. We can expand that out, right click, edit the feature. And when I go into the chain, I'm just double clicking on the chain. Maybe we'll go to 50 millimeters and hit OK. And that looks a little bit better. Make sure to save it. We go into the window, or let's see, is it Control Tab? We can Control Tab through our available windows in SolidWorks. And now we'll see the show an exploded or model break. We haven't done a model break yet. And there's only one, so there's nothing really showing in the pull down. So I want to position, and we're going through the same basic process, Control C, Control V, as I did with the standalone, just getting this established. We'll run through it again. Let's see, I want to be in the balloons, which is an annotation. So if we auto balloon, for whatever reason, let's go to the top. That doesn't look terrible. And again, with the magnetic line, I highlight, I look for the line, and then we can drag those a little bit closer together, reposition. And then last but not least is to create the bill of materials, which is under the tables, or right-clicking in the view, make sure that you're selecting for that, that group. Nope, I went right to properties. Let's go to tables and to the bill of materials. We're going to go to the default top level configuration of the same part as separate items. And what we're going to see in this bill of materials is that we still have the pin long and pin short, crank, follower, and coupler, because in the configuration we told it to use the configuration name in the bill of materials. So if I delete that column, that makes it a little more accessible. Now we'll be able to see it a little better. All right, so if I had not, then this would have been pin, pin, dog bone, dog bone, dog bone. All right, so that's where that that plays out. So if we do a zoom to fit, I already created a second sheet. My general practice is that I want to create kind of a roadmap if I can, and that if somebody is looking at my drawing package and wondering how to assemble this thing, the first sheet would be the base, and then we would look at putting the pins and then the dog bones, those items, and have kind of a again a roadmap that would show which way to go. So I'm not going to fully dimension this. Take it as far as you want it. Let's see, if we go to model view, that will bring us back over here. If we go into the view palette, then nothing is showing, and just like the model view, we would have to browse. Well, I've already got everything for the assembly, so the dot dot dot, and we can go find, now that was a base R2 in this assembly, if I'm remembering that correctly. So when we start making revisions and making adjustments in the assembly, I want to make sure that I'm not getting other parts. And so we have the top view, and why don't we go, that's going to be a little tight. We'll go with that. And I grab the top view without really looking at it. So if I jump into that, it'll take me over to the view. If I have any dimensions apply, it's basically warning me that those are going to be gone. And if we go to half size, then I can position those a little bit better. And for this drawing, we'll go to annotation, smart dimension. I have an overall. We also could have saved this as a metric. All right, so a few little things that pop up when we're going through this process. All right, so add as many dimensions, kind of refer back to the singles and some of the techniques. And again, the one I was looking for was the on-screen dim window. Used to pop up as a small box by itself. Now it's on the right mouse context. Or we can come over to the dimension text. And as long as you don't change anything between the less than and greater than symbols, we can put whatever text and above, below in the group. Whereas if I go over here and right click, then I'm in the dim window. Above, there's my 2 times the dimension based on the size that we set, and we have the next sheet. Okay, so I add an additional sheet. This time I'll pay a little more attention. Oh, I went to custom properties. We want to do the pin. And so I'm going to go to just the standard pin, not the individuals. And the configuration is for the pin short. I believe the first set is for the pin long. And let's go to the top view, and we'll drag out for the right view on the projected and an isometric view. Those are pretty small, so maybe we'll look for a 2:1, and that looks pretty good. Oh yeah, this also has my manufacturing for the 3D print and created in it. So a few more dimensions. And again, take these as far as you want to go. All right, and then if I was going to do the short pin, let's go ahead and copy, and then I can paste. And one of the, after selected sheets, one of the advantages of having this sheet then is if these are the child views, this is the parent, I can change the configuration to the pin, from the pin short to the pin long. See which one I had there. Oh, actually I needed to swap those. Thought I did that when I imported it, or when I opened it. All right, so just kind of getting this the way that I want it. So pin short, pin long. It illustrates that I can make those adjustments and create these drawings pretty quickly with the configuration. So let's stay with the view palette. We'll do the dot 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 one more time. I'll grab the dog bone, and I do not want the what if, so let's start with the crank and open it. See if it stays okay. So we have the front, and that looks like the coupler. So that doesn't really make any sense, but okay, we'll go with it. We'll zoom out a little bit and get the isometric in there. It still jumped. All right, well, that's fine. We'll pick on that guy. And in the drawing view, I should be able, nope. I'm not sure what what it pulled from that one. All right, so when in doubt, we'll just delete it. I'll go ahead and get these situated the way that I want them, and pretty much figure out why when I selected the crank, it went ahead and put the coupler in. It did lose the center marks, so I'll have to reapply those. All right, and then let's go back to the drawing, into a projected view, create the isometric. And in this case, I kind of like the size, and so I just like to reduce the size of the isometric from 2:1 to 1:1. Okay, and then if I want to put those center marks back in, we have the view selected, and I will go up to the center mark, and for all holes, and go ahead and accept. And we'll rough position, grab our dimensions, get a center to center spacing, go in between. That time I saw the box. Yeah, so the box is still there. Not sure why it was right mouse button on some of them and others are popping up. So let's go ahead and put in, and again the silhouette edge is just showing where kind of intersects through that that arc. All right, so that looks pretty good. If I copy this and then we go to paste after selected sheet, then on the parent view I should be able to switch this over to coupler, and it gets really big. So let's make the whole sheet half scale, except that one is still custom because that was where we put it. So let's make it same as the parent scale again. Actually, half scale is a little bit too small, so maybe I'm not seeing a 3/4 scale. So if I put in 3/4, that'll make it a little bigger. And we can put in whatever scale sizes that we want to make it look pretty good. So we'll go in, paste one more after the selected sheet, grab the follower. Follower is a little bit bigger. So again, the sheet can go 1:1. That one should already be 1:1 because of its custom scale, but if I stay with the parent scale, then we can kind of move it, adjust the dimensions, make it a little more readable from it moving around. And again, we're in inch, so if I want to see metric, we'll go to millimeters, grams, and seconds. That'll update. And then the last one that I'd be interested in is dual units, is to go into the dimensions, say that I want to use the dual dimensions, and we'll put them on the top. So in this case, we're metric and metric. So let's go back in and edit the document units. We need to see what we actually ended up with. So there is my millimeters. 2 decimal places, probably would go 1 decimal place, and the inches, and 2 decimal places, and see how that looks. All right, so very quickly with the configurations, this is kind of a special case. Usually we'll go through and, depending on the complexity of the assembly, sub-assembly, I'll go through and add all of these views, make sure it's what I want, and then come back and do a dimension run, then do a tolerance run, then do an inspection run. And after 3 or 4 or 5 iterations of this process, I get a working package that is pretty much doing what I want it to do. All right, communicating effectively the build of these parts. All right, so going across the bottom, if these get too much or I want to change the name, we can right click and rename. So if I was to make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I could make this sheet 7 as 7. And what it kind of works out to is an assembly, subassembly, somewhere between 12 and about 20 parts is the comfortable limit of managing that geometry. Could be more, could be less, but for our purposes, it also happens to be how many sheets that we want to end up with in our geometry definition. So if I right click and go to the properties, I can also access the sheet name here. And then of course, wherever we got to those and go to its properties, and I lost track. So apply changes, and we'll see those names update. Should have been 5. And we'll make sure to save this so that we have all of our drawings in place. So the other advantage of the multi-sheet and the drawing package is that if I go to print, and I don't think I have a printer set up, but rather than opening each one of these, I can say all of the sheets, certain sheets, pretty much go through and select which sheets I want to print as to opening up each one or right-clicking on it, saying print, have it open, and then spit it out. So from a drawing package standpoint, having all this information in one place is also a benefit. So you can make the single drawings if you prefer, and the drawing multi-sheet drawing package if you want to give it a try.